Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot. The votes are in once again, and it was a close race this time actually. Bit of a battle, if you will, between the Aerosoft A319, or A319 in this case, or the PMDG 737. Of course, I know you guys really love that PMDG 737. Somebody had mentioned a couple videos ago, hey, you might get some more votes for the Airbus if you were using the Aerosoft, because more people have the Aerosoft vice the FS Labs Airbus. And my original answer to that was, well, there's not a whole lot of difference. While there's a little more depth to the FS Labs Airbus, the operation of the Aerosoft Airbus is still pretty much the same. Nonetheless, we continue to get more votes for PMDG typically than we do for the Airbus. And you know, that makes sense. If you don't have the FS Labs Airbus, you're probably not as interested in seeing flights in the FS Labs Airbus, vice the Aerosoft, which more folks have. So, this time around we put up the Aerosoft Airbus as an option, and here you have it. Aerosoft A319 won the day on this one. I think it was by 1 or 2 votes. It was pretty close, and we got a lot of votes here at the end of the week, so that was really exciting. And I think that's great. I love to see the interaction. I like that you guys get on there and you place your vote, and that's how we determine where we're going next. I just think that's pretty darn cool. So we're going to continue with that tradition as much as possible. But that being said, here we have it, the Aerosoft A319. And what I'm going to do today, I'm not going to use the checklist features in this. Now, some of you may be like, wow, that's what I really want to see. We're going to do that, just not today. What I want to do today is I'm actually going to use the tutorial flight information from the FS Labs Airbus that I use when I fly the FS Labs Airbus, and I'm going to use it for the Aerosoft Airbus. And the reason I want to do that is I just want to show you that they're very, very, very similar. Oh, excuse me. They're both Airbus. Okay, so whereas FS Labs does have a little bit more depth, it doesn't mean that we can't use the Aerosoft. It's a great Airbus, and I've had it for a long time. And in fact, I didn't really like flying Airbus at all until Aerosoft released this, and it really started to get me excited about flying the Airbus as I learned to fly it more. So that's what we're going to do today, and you're going to see that there are differences, but overall the operation of the aircraft is the same, which is fantastic. And what that's going to ultimately lead to, something that I've neglected for a long time, and that's going to be a tutorial. Full flight tutorial on the Aerosoft Airbus, which will include some of the checklist feature and stuff like that. So that's the plan for today. Sorry, I had to take a little drink there real quick. And yeah, I think that's it. So we're flying from SKCG to KJFK. Sooner or later we're going to make our way across the pond. Again, these votes are dependent on you guys, but somebody popped up a comment, and if I can find it again, I'll pop it up here. But they were saying there's another airport we can fly to in the U.S. that'll give us a 737 flight all the way across the pond. It's a long one, but probably worth the effort. So we'll be looking into that as well, as far as options, trying to make our way over there, and so on and so forth. I know a lot of you have flights. You want me to fly into certain airports and stuff like that. Maybe we'll get there, maybe we won't. I don't want to make any promises. I've only ever made one promise, and that was KMEM will fly in and or out of there at some point. But you know, we try to see what's available, and I try to choose aircraft that you guys are going to want to see. So we're going to be flying as a captain for a little while. I think we got another 100 hours to go or something like that. So we got some work to do before we get some extra aircraft. And then the next rank up really only adds a couple. Adds like a 757, 767, and maybe 1 or 2 others. So we won't see 777 or 747 or anything like that for a long time to come. So just keep that in mind as well. But enough talky talk, let's hop onto the flight deck here. You can see obviously it's nighttime. Where necessary, I'll try to brighten up the video a little bit just so you can see, but I'm not going to do it right here because it's dark, and I want us to deal with that for a minute, which is a bit of a pain. So jumping right in, typically in your FS Labs Airbus, you go down to your MCDU and you have to choose an option to connect ground power and all of that. So here's the deal. If we hop down here, you can't do anything with these right now. There's no power on the aircraft. Okay. Now, normally when you load this airplane in, you hop up top and you have ground power available. Not sure why it's set up that way or what, but when I initially loaded this airplane in, to be honest with you, ground power was not available, and I couldn't seem to get it to come on. And then I went to set my parking brake with the shortcut, and I hit Control period, which I think is incorrect or something, but whatever. It reloaded the flight right back here where I started, but then all of a sudden ground power was available. So, assuming your ground power is available on this aircraft, let's go ahead and start with that. And it's lit up, so it's easy to see. So click on it, and now you've got ground power, but the batteries aren't on. That's these two guys right here. Okay, so let's click those on. And we still don't have any lights in the aircraft. Now all your internal lighting is right here. Okay, so here's your overhead. See, give that a click and bam, everything lights up like a champ. And I just roll the mouse wheel once, bam, and she comes over like that. Here's the dome light. There we go. Now we've got lots of light we can see. And just like in the FS Labs Airbus, let's go ahead and click off anything that has a white light on it that says off. We don't worry about the orange lights or yellow lights, just the white ones. And let's arm those emergency exit lights, turn on the no smoking, and fasten seatbelt signs real quick. Okay, with that done, let's hop down here. Wow, that was a little delayed, wasn't it? Now here, if you go to ground services, here you see we've got traffic cones, wheel chocks, external power, set, and connected. That's the GPU, and then here's, I'm not sure what the difference is between the GPU ground power unit and then just external power, but GPU is going to work fine for us. If we check on our doors real quick, we can see that the front left door is open, everything else is closed, and I'm not going to open any of those. I'm not using GSX right now because it's not working right. So, there we have it. Little thing about the Aerosoft Airbus, the right MCDU, this is strictly for Aerosoft functions dealing with the aircraft, okay? You cannot do flight plan or anything like that on here. None of that stuff works on the right MCDU. These are all your options right here, and that's it. Okay, so you've got your sound options, views, checklist options, aircraft options, all that stuff. You can turn off the fly-by-wire. I leave it on. I like it. I have tiller turned on, but it never seems to work right, so we'll see how that goes. But there you have it. That's what you have for this menu. And then on this MCDU, you have all of your normal functions. And I'm trying to mess with my checklist over here. All your normal functions for the MCDU are on the left side here. So let's hop back up top. Let's get our nav logo lights turned on real quick. I don't know why that messed with the dome lights, but it did. So whatever. Batteries are on, external power is on, nav logos are on. We're not going to do the APU yet, but we can hop up here and we can flip these to nav. And it's the same thing. It's in order, 1, 2, and then 3 in the middle. So right click them once, 2, and 3, and there we go. And it should start our alignment down here, which is exactly what we want. Oh, a little stuffy this morning. The allergies kick my butt. We can hop down here and we can make changes on our eCam. Word didn't want to come to me. We can pull up whatever we want. I'm not really worried about anything right now. In fact, nothing's even popping up on it. Oh, I know why. Because we haven't turned the displays on yet. So this stuff's all on. We just need to turn up the brightness, right? And that's these knobs over here. So here's your primary flight display. And if you turn it high enough, the background gets blue. You all know I hate that, so I go to right there. This is our nav display. There's 2 knobs here. The back knob doesn't actually do anything. The front knob is what you need. Okay, same thing all the way up until it turns blue, and then back it off until it's black again. That's the way I like it. You can turn it as bright as you want. And then lower eCams down here, or upper and lower eCam, that's these 2 down here. Same thing, until it's blue, back to black. That's just how I do it. And there we go. Okay, so now you can see we've got the engines pulled up on here. Let's see, normally we would pull up what? It doesn't really matter. We can pull up whatever we want. So we're good on that. And sorry if I seem a little distracted this morning. I'm a little bit tired. Had a long day yesterday. I had to rototill my backyard and then dig trenches and get all kinds of stuff ready for new sprinklers. And it's just, whew, let me tell you, that's a lot of work. Alright, before we dive in any deeper here, I want to jump over to our Airbus fuel planner, and I've got this guy right here. Bam, there it is, and you can find it in your Airbus folder. And what we're looking at here, you can choose any of the aircraft. I'm not going to pop this down because sometimes when you pop this down, even though you've already chosen an aircraft, it likes to switch, and I don't want to mess with that. All right, set your packs, set your cargo, your total trip distance, which 1878 is our air distance. It's our actual travel because of our route. Planned flight level, taxi time, APU time, the distance to your alternate airport, how long you need to hold. We've got it at 30. Technically, I think you're supposed to be at 45, but we're going to go with 30. Final reserves, and then you can also put in wind direction and speed. I didn't mess with that, okay? And you can, now, you don't have to just go in and put all this in. You can start by putting in your departure and arrival. It gives you at least general information, and then you can fine-tune it based on your flight plan, this guy, or you can just leave it as is. It's up to you. And then once you've got all of that set, make sure you're on the right aircraft here. Okay, for us it's 319. Generate load sheet, and it should send it over to the aircraft. Now, we're not going to close this thing out yet. I'm going to keep this up over to the side because we're going to need block fuel and stuff like that. Now, keep in mind also that it's been a while since I've flown this thing, so don't give me too much crap if I'm a soup sandwich, okay? IRS should be in alignment right now. It is. You look down here. Let me zoom down there for you. So you can see it. There it is. IRS is in alignment. It's got 2 minutes left to go, so we're good to go on that. We can turn the strobe to auto. I don't know if the auto strobe works on this one. Let's try. Yep, there's auto. So strobe goes to auto at this point. Fasten seatbelt signs. No smoking signs are already on. Emergency landing lights are armed. Pack flow needs to be normal, which it is. Anti-skid and nose wheel steering needs to be in the on position. This one here, which it is, it's up. So we're good on all that. What's next? Next is transponder and radios. We're not going to do a whole lot here. We never really do because we're still not using ATC. And I know some of you are probably frustrated with that, but it is what it is. So let's see. Usually you clear it, but if you hit clear or hold clear, it just goes to 1200. So we're just going to type it in 2336. There we go. And we could roll that to TARA, but we don't need to yet. So we're going to leave it on standby. Let's see. Above, below. That's good. We're looking good there. Weather radar stays off for the moment. We don't want to fry anybody who's standing in front of the aircraft. So we're good to go with all of that. Now, initialization of the FMCG or MCDU. Okay, there's a cough coming here somewhere. You can hear it building up. Okay, there it is. I don't know what it is about doing videos, but there you have it. Anyway, so flight plan initialization is essentially the same. There's not a whole lot of difference. Our fuel should already be set. Now we don't need to set our fuel in. Come on down here. We don't need to set our fuel in the MCDU because, well, maybe we do. Maybe we do. Haven't done this in a while. Again, yep, load and fuel right here. So even though I generated a load sheet, oh, that's what it is. Go to load and fuel. Okay, let me change the view so you can see. And then we can start boarding and load fuel. But first, what we want to do is we want to initialize that load sheet that we created from our fuel planner, right? So click on that. There we go. So that puts in the number of packs, the cargo, the fuel, all that good stuff, right? And then we start boarding. Now, you're not... They say you shouldn't load fuel and board at the same time. I work at an airport. They do it all the time. Constantly. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and let it do its thing. Now, we got a little work to do, so we're going to let that happen. But you see right here, here's the packs loading, and here's the fuel loading. And then, wow, I think I'm about to sneeze. Oh, there's a new one for you. Captain Max sneezing in your face. Good Lord. Okay. We could always go to load instant if we wanted to, but I don't think we really need to. So, it's loading the fuel right now, and if we hop back down here, or not hop, but glide back down here, you can see the fuel actually going up. So it's loading fuel right now, sort of in real time. Now, I don't know if that's how long it really takes, It doesn't seem to take them that long when they load it in Phoenix, so probably doesn't take that long, right? Oh, there's the stuffy nose. Okay, so fuel should be good now. So now we can hop over here. Let's see, what do we got here? That's all good. That's all good. Oh, I know I missed one thing. I know I did. Where is it? Payload. No, it's going to take care of payload 2, center of gravity, all that stuff. I don't think we need to do any of it. So we'll go to initialization, and we'll start here. Let's start by aligning the IRS. And on this one, you click on it. It doesn't take you to another page. It just aligns it. Not really sure why it's set up that way, but there you have it. So we're going to go from SKCG. There we go, to KJFK. And we'll put those up here. Okay, now the reason it did this is because I have a company route, right? See the company route right there? Well, now it's not going to let me redo it. I was going to show it to you. I was going to come back and click on type it into company route and have it pull up. But anyway, so I guess the company route isn't in there now. I don't know. Oh, I wonder if I can clear that out. Company route. Let's try it here. So I just went to the menu. What I did is, so under initialization, so when I typed this in, you saw that it pulled up a company route. I didn't select it because I wanted to come back here and show it to you. But go to MCDU menu if you do that, and let's see if this works. So SKCG to KJFK, and then it's got the designator 01 on it. Let's put that in company route. Already exists. Okay, so I guess that's to create a company route, huh? Clear. Can we clear this? Let's try clearing this. Clear. Not allowed. The problem is now it didn't put in any of our any of our flight plan, which is kind of a bummer. Oh man, I think I messed up on that one, guys. Oh well. Okay, so that just means we're going to be putting in the waypoints ourselves. That's fine. That'll be good anyway. So, but if you're doing a company route, well, now it's showing it as a company route. So let's see if the waypoints are in there now. Let's go to, if I can find flight plan right in front of my face. They're still not in there. Doesn't show anything. So that's fine. So we'll put them in my hand, and that's good to go. There's nothing wrong with that. So flight number is going to be AVA 206. There she is. Cost index will be 85 for us because that's what we fly. And then our cruise is ultimately going to be flight level 380. So there we go on that. And then performance page, right? Or we can do page 2 of this. Block fuel is 12.7. There she is. And you can see it did 0 fuel weight and 0 fuel weight center of gravity for us. We didn't have to put that in. So there's definitely a difference there. And now let's go to flight plan first. And so you see all it's got is top of climb, top of descent, and our 2 airports. So let's start with SKCG. Click on that, go to our departure. And what is our wind? Our wind is 360, so 01 is going to be our runway. And we are taking Verona 1, or Vero 1. There it is. No transition, so let's insert those, and bam. So you can see, just like with the FS Labs, it's in there, right? And then we've got our flight plan discontinuity. Now from Veron, if I can talk here, from Veron, we're taking an airway. So if we click on Veron, and I'm stuffy, sorry, go to Airways. Same thing as we do in the FS Labs Airbus. So we're going to type in G430, G430, via G430 to Nesmo, Nesmo. Wow, I feel kind of stuffy. Anyway, there we go. And then we can insert now, but we don't want to yet. We're going to carry on. So next is UG430, Uniform Golf 430. That's our next airway, right? And that's going to take us to UCA. UCA. Bam. and there wasn't more than one, so that's good. And then from there, it's UA 301. And that takes us out to URSUS, URSUS. There we go. And then from there, it's AR23. Would have been easier if we did the company route, wouldn't it? AR23 takes us to ZFP. Gonna take a minute here. And then from ZFP, it's AR24. And that takes us to DIW. Is that right? Yep, DIW. If I can find DIW. There we go. And then let's see. How do we get more? Looks like it's not giving us room to add more. So here's what we're gonna do then. We're gonna go ahead and insert this. Okay, that's in there now, and then scroll down to the last one, DIW. Bit of a pain there. You should be able to scroll that window down and keep entering them in, I believe. But anyway, from DIW, we'll click on that one, Airways, and then from there it is J174. And we're taking that all the way to ORF. Where's the O? There it is. There we go. And then from ORF, it's direct to SWL. Now I believe you can type in direct, excuse me, direct here, but let's find out. Nope. And it's not going to let us enter another waypoint here unless we have an airway in there, right? And since I don't have an airway listed on my flight plan, I'm going to insert that, scroll back down to it, and now instead of clicking on ORF, I'm going to just type it in directly. Since we're going direct, it's SWL. So type in SWL and then just put it right here where the discontinuity is, and we're good to go on that. And you notice this one doesn't turn orange and ask you to actually insert it. Now from SWL, we've got another airway, so click on SWL, click on Airways, then it's J121. This is taking a little while, I know. J121, and that takes us to SIE, and we're almost done. SIE, and then from there we're going to go on to our arrival, so we can get rid of the, we can insert that now, not get rid of it, but insert it. Go all the way down, there should be a discontinuity at SIE, type in, or click on KJFK and click on arrival, and we don't know what runway we're going to be on yet, so click the right arrow and that takes us to our stars page, and we're going to take the Cameron 4 arrival. And there's no transition, so we can just insert it in there. And then scroll her back down by clicking on the up arrow. So you can see that that connected them automatically. You see there's SIE right there, and then Botan, and then Hogs, Pansy, and then Pansy. Down to Cameron, and then a discontinuity because we don't have our approach put in there yet. So we're going to go on all that. That's our flight plan. Our flight plan is entered. Now we'll go to our performance page. Let's see. You should be able to right click these. Nope. Bad format. Ooh. Where do we get our V speeds on this one from? Well, let's take care of flaps first. It's going to be flaps 1. It's already got it at up 0.8. So we just put flaps 1 and there you go. It automatically does your V speeds for you. See? We're all learning as we go. Now, you can see it put a flex 2 temp of 53 degrees in here. I didn't put that in there. The aircraft did. So, I'm guessing based on the runway and the current, either the current weather, what it's showing on here, plus 30 degrees, which is quite warm, it's decided that we can flex, that we don't need full thrust for takeoff. So, I'm going to try to remember to put these throttles in flex, and I'm just making sure they work because I forgot to check that. So we'll try to remember to put them in flex mode. Well, those aren't even at all, are they? There we go. Flex mode instead of toga, but we'll find out. Usually if you're going to do a toga takeoff, it tells you on, maybe it's the nav display, but it'll usually say toga on one of these. So I guess we're probably going to be flexing. So there's that. That's entry of the flight plan. we've got our performance data entered, we've got our V speeds entered, we've got our flap setting entered. We're good to go on all that. That wasn't too bad, other than having to put in all the waypoints. But we're going to leave it on the takeoff page for now. Hop back up here, and let's go ahead and set our here, barrel. If you left click or right click the little black wheel in the back, it switches between QNH switches between hectopascals. That's what this is, hectopascals, and inches of mercury. I tend to prefer inches of mercury because that's what we use here in the US, and so for us that's 2983. So we'll scroll this down, and you can see it does it on both sides. Alright, so we don't need to do it on both sides in this aircraft. What else we need to do? They tell you to set this to nav in case the first waypoint's behind you, which it kinda is. Now these don't pop up. There's no popping these up. Alright, so you can either zoom into them or just suck it up. But basically, here, let's come down a little bit and zoom in and just take a peek real quick. So it looks like we've got, we've got these dotted lines back here, right? Which is kind of weird. So if you come down here and we go to our flight plan, you can see that it's got this 410 feet. This has something to do with our departure, which I haven't even looked at yet. And then it's out to CG 501 and so on. Why they're dotted lines, I don't remember. I think that means it's the flight plan's not finalized yet. I don't know, because flight directors are on. I'm confused by this. You'll have to forgive me. I'll have to look into it. I haven't read the manual in this in frickin' forever, so we're just going to suck it up for now. And let's see what else. Flight director's on. QNH is set. We're good down there. We want to make sure we want to push these in so that we have dots there. Okay, there you go. Now it turned it to a green line, right? So when I have it out, it shows a dotted line because I'm controlling the heading. There you go. See, I learn as I go. I don't always have to read the manual. Push them in, make sure we got dots there. Right click this guy to 1,000 feet. Let's take this up. Again, I haven't even looked at our departure yet. So I'm just going to set this at 38,000, but if I need to put an altitude restriction in for our departure, I will. So that takes care of that. What's next? We don't need to do anything with nav radios. I'm not worried about those. We could put in the VOR setting for oh yeah, that went quiet because I switched windows here. Where is it at? CG 501. No. Other than our actual departure, which again haven't looked at yet, our initial route doesn't include a VOR. It's just airways and all that good stuff. So that's it. We're good to go. We've got all of our pre-start stuff done. We didn't use the checklists over here. We'll use those again we'll use those sometime in the future. I can now go ahead and exit out of this window. I don't need it anymore, so we'll exit that. If we look down here, we can go into load and fuel, and you can see they're green now, which means they're totally loaded. All right. Now I don't know why this is 156. There's 124 out of 156. I don't think this one holds 156. So this page might have a default view to it, right? So 124 is the max packs it shows on the load chart for the A319. Now, I don't know if that's a correct number or not. So I don't know what the 156 is there for, to be honest with you. Fuel on board, 12.78. That's what we wanted, so we're good on that. So everything's set and ready to go. We will need to remove chocks and all that stuff down here. So just keep that in mind. Ground services, we can leave it on there so that we don't forget. Because again, we're not using this for anything except Airbus functions. So all that being said, I'm going to break away here for just a minute. Make sure I got everything squared away. And then we're going to get ready to push and start. Alright, we got our track IR and everything turned on. We're pretty much ready to go. A little bit of work left to do here. We need to get the APU on. Let me go to this view so you can see a little better. APU is done the same way in this aircraft as it is in the FS Labs. Shouldn't be a surprise. They're both Airbus, right? So master switch on and then start switch on. And then if you hop down here and we'll change our view a little bit so we can see, and then put this to APU. And there you have it, APU coming on. And it still takes a little bit to turn on this aircraft. Yeah, it just takes a minute. So anyway, while we're waiting on that, roll back here. I know, I need to speed that up a little bit. You know what, let me do that real quick. Watch this, this is really cool. So the rotation's a little slow, right? So pop this up. Go to, let's see, we're on this one here, we're on this camera here. Go to camera, right, and then advanced, right. It'll normally show up on this at first. Go to advanced, and then here's our rotation, right. So let me just take this guy right here. This is speed, right, speed, and there's a little tip too. Move that up, right. Now watch this. Woo! See how much faster it goes, just like that. Okay, isn't that awesome? And you don't have to do anything. I'm not going to save the camera position because that would actually change the position of it, and I don't want that. Okay, but the rotation's faster now. So anyway, there we go. Park and brake is on. That's what we wanted to make sure of. So since that's good, let's remove the traffic cones. Let's we got to leave wheel chocks on, I think, until we disconnect the external power. So we're up and running with the APU. Let's hop back up here real quick. You can see she's good to go. APU generator now. Remember, dark cockpit concept. So right now, it doesn't give me a tooltip, but if I click on it, it should show the off button. Right click it. You have to right click it to turn it off. So APU gen's off right now. And that's okay for a second because I've got external power on. But left click it to turn it back on. Now I can turn external power off. Right click it to do that. And then while I'm here, I want to go ahead and turn the APU bleed on. So left click the APU bleed and we're good to go there. Hop back down here. Now we can disconnect external power. Disconnect wheel chocks. And we're good to go there. And I think we can, let's double check, let's Control J to get that jetway moving back. There we go. Let's close the door. Hop back down here. Go to aircraft doors, front left. Click on it. And sometimes it takes a second. See, I clicked it and it took like 2 seconds before it started doing anything. So there we go. Now all the doors are closed. That's good. That's what we want. We're good to go there.
Captain, the cabin is secure. All passengers are aboard.
Thank you. Performance page. We want our takeoff page up here, so we're good to go on that. And for this one or the FS Labs, I think I want to get FS2 Crew. I like FS2 Crew. That's actually a lot of fun. All right, so we're good to go. We're ready to push back, except of course for the brakes. Now I did speed this one up a little bit, but see, it's much slower than the other one. So watch. Same thing. Okay. I'm on this camera right here. Click on camera, go to advanced, and then you can see my speed, right? So bring it up. Usually around 5 is pretty good. And then look at that. It's much faster. Now that might be a little too fast for you guys though, and that's kind of the reason I had it down a little bit. So let's bring it down just a little. Let's try that. Yeah, that's better. So it doesn't give you a headache, right? Okay, so park and brake off. Remember, we're pushing straight back. There's our passenger loading up over there, letting us know ACARS is running. I'm not showing ACARS at the beginning of all the flights now because there's just no need to. So shift and P for our straight pushback. And we don't want to do anything like push the number. Is it going to work? There it goes. We don't want to push like the number keys or anything like that, because if we do, it's going to turn one way or the other. And we certainly don't want to turn that way because there's a building there. And even though there's no aircraft over there, we don't want to turn that way either. So there we go. We're pushing back. Startup is really simple. Right click this guy over to the ignition start side, and then we're going to start with engine number 2. And unlike the FS Labs Airbus, you don't have to right click and hold and then left click. Just left click it, and there we go, and she's going to start firing up. Now if we hadn't turned on the APU bleed at this point, it's not going to do anything. So it's important that we have that APU bleed switch turned on as well. And now we just watch. And wait, and it's not actually, there it goes. Now it's starting to move. You can see it's at 7.2 right there. Okay, so now she's starting to come up. There it is, starting to kick in. So it just takes a minute, right? Now I don't know why this one was moving. Maybe just because the way the bleed works. I don't know, but that's plenty far enough for our pushback. Let's go ahead and stop that. Okay, let's put that park and brake back on. You can hear the engine spooling up. Flight attendant talking. Give him just a minute here. Oh, there was actually a truck to push it back. Cool. Those things take forever. Look, he'll just do this weird back and forth for like ever. Alright, if we hop up top here now, see how Gen 1 is still at fault but Gen 2 is not? That tells me that the engine is running and providing power to the aircraft as I want it to. Okay, and so when we hop back over here and we look, we can see that the engine is running. We're at 22.1 on our N2, so we're good to go here. And this is saying flex. See that now? Let me zoom in over there a little bit. Okay, it's saying flex instead of toga, right? So we are going to be using a flex temperature. So that flex temp was set automatically, and it's set at 53 degrees. I don't know why it set it. I guess just based on the conditions. So we're going to use the flex temp, and we should be good to go on that. Probably because of the pressure. 29083 is kind of low pressure. So anyway, yeah. So engine 2 is up and running. So come down here, and you know what I forgot to do, and we should have done this before we. You know, I should have looked at my list right here. So we should have made sure that the wing lights were on, and the beacon light was on before we started that engine. So that's my bad there. I'm sure somebody was probably screaming at the screen going, "You didn't get the lights on." Calm down, people. Calm down. It's okay. Alright, so engine 2 is up and running. Let's go to engine 1. Same thing, just left click it. Let the aircraft do the work for you. Why not? Less work for us, right? Okay. Now on the FS Labs Airbus, when the engine's up and running and the generator's providing power, that was the barking dog, by the way, come on, brain function. It says available right here for a few seconds, and that lets you know that everything's up and running. Well, we don't have that in this case, but that's alright. Another cough coming here, by the way. Excuse me. Oh, let's see. I wonder if... Let's see, does this work? Yeah, see, so when I go to turn the rudders, see how they're bouncing like that? So that's supposed to be the... let's try this again. Yeah, see, they bounce back and forth. That's supposed to be the tiller. Oh, there we go. Now, well... Nope, still it doesn't like the. But if I do it with the rudder pedals, it's fine. So I'm thinking it's just because I've got this little wheel that I'm using here is assigned to. Well, now it seems to want to work. But watch if I touch the rudders. That's what it is. It's because my rudders have they tend to have a little bounce in them, right? So. Yeah, I don't know, but I can do it with the rudders too, and so I'll probably just use the rudder pedals, but I really like using that little wheel to do it. Anyway, carrying on. Okay, so now we've got both gens running. We don't need APU bleed anymore, so right click that, and we don't need the APU generator anymore, so right click that, turn both those off, and then right click the master switch to turn the APU off, because we don't need it. We're good on all that. Let's see, we don't want our dome light anymore either. Kind of hard to see from that angle, isn't it? So dome light can go to the off position, right click it, there we go, and you see I actually really like the lighting in this aircraft. I think they did an amazing job. So taxi light coming on, and now that's taxi and that's takeoff. We don't want takeoff, we just want taxi, right? Yes, that's correct. That wasn't really a question. Track hour coming on, little jump here, boom, there it is. Let's go ahead and get that parking brake off. There we go, parking brake is off. A lot of times this aircraft will start rolling on its own once you turn the parking brake off. And I can't really tell if it is or not. So let's go ahead and just move those throttles up just a little bit. And we'll use the rudder pedals to move ourselves around. We're not moving yet, are we? Yeah, we are. There we go. Pull those back. And away we go. So as we start our taxi out here, what do you say we go ahead and take care of a taxi and departure briefing, and then I will see you guys here shortly when we're getting ready for takeoff. Okay, as far as the taxi is concerned, it's going to be pretty simple here today. We're right here at Terminal C. It's the only terminal here, so pretty straightforward. We're going to push straight back, and well, we're pushing straight back because we don't have GSX going on, right? So we're down over here at gate 1. Now, all these are large gates, actually, by the way, so that's why we're pulled forward so far. But anyway, we'll push straight back. There shouldn't be anything in our way here, but we'll just try and keep an eye on it. And then we're just going to flip around to the right here and taxi out. And then you got a back taxi on the runway. There's no taxiway that actually goes down here, just a turnaround area. And hopefully it's on the correct side on here, but sometimes, you know, with this FSX scenery and stuff, you get down there and there's not even a turnaround area. So hopefully there is, and that won't be an issue, but pretty straightforward on the taxi. So out on Alpha here, back taxi on runway 19 or 01, depending on how you want to look at it. I'm not sure how that would be called out. I think it's back taxi on 01 because that would be the approach runway. And then we'll flip around for lineup, and we're not going to be holding over here or anything like that. So probably what we're going to have to try and do is get our act together on the way out as far as taxiing down there and make sure that we get all our pre-flight stuff done, or not our pre-flight, our before takeoff stuff done, so that when we get down here we can flip around and be ready to rock and roll. I think that makes sense. Okay, let's take a look at the departure really quick. Very simple on the departure as well. So this is our runway here. Our runway direction is 009 degrees. So when we take off, we're going to take off. We're going to fly runway heading straight out here to CG 501. We need to be at or above 2,000 feet. Shouldn't be a problem. We do have a good bit of fuel on there, but we're not even close to being full on fuel. So we get up above 2,000 feet, and then when we get out here to CG 501, we hang a left at 342 degrees and take that. That's the departure all the way out to Varon, and then on course from there. Pretty straightforward. Approach is on 119.10. Not really sure why. Not really sure why he's talking about approach or not, but there's no procedure text published. Let's see. None of this is going to apply to us because we're going to be way over these speeds and stuff anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. Transition altitude's at 1,800 feet. Airport altitude is 7 feet. We can see that down here in the right-hand corner. And that's pretty much the gist of it. So pretty straightforward as far as the taxi and departure briefing are concerned. Alright, so it turns out that the scenery actually has that little turnabout deal there. So it's not just a little turnaround area, it's an actual taxiway that comes off the runway and then has a hold short point, as you can see. So that's fantastic. I did a few things while we were taxiing out. You may have noticed while I was doing the taxi brief, you may not have, but we also missed a couple of things. I forgot to do the flight controls check. So let's hop down here real quick and let's click on flight controls. And then we can look at those again. Let's take care of that real fast. So full left, looks good. Full right, and neutral. And then all the way up, all the way down, neutral, and then rudder, full left, full right, and neutral. So we're looking good on all of those. So flight controls are good. We can take this back over to the engines page for now. You can also check everything else. You know, you can check your doors page, make sure all your doors are closed. You can check your fuel state, hydraulics, all of that stuff can be checked right here. That's where you do it at. But we're going to go on the engine page here. Let's hit recall really quick. And when you hit recall, if there's any warnings, they'll pop up. There's none. Now, the other thing that I did that you may or may not have noticed, there's actually like a little checklist right here. Auto brake needs to go to max. I put that on and that goes away. So if I turn that off, see it says auto brake max, signs on, okay. And then once you do it, it just shows it is ready to go, right? And the last thing there is the takeoff config test, which I haven't done yet. So let's do that. That's this button right here. Click that and it says normal, and so we're good to go. So all of our takeoff stuff is good. I just noticed though we never set this guy. 2983 it is, right? Yeah, 2983. So let's set this guy to 2983. This is our standby. If it's gonna let us go to it won't let us. There we go. Didn't want to let me go down to 2983. Okay, so we're good on all of that. Let me just take a quick look at our reference material here. Again, we're using the FS Labs tutorial as our reference material just for the sake of seeing how similar they are. Alright, so we need to get weather radar on, so this needs to go to, let's see, let's hop down and zip back here real quick. You can also change how fast this thing moves around and stuff like that with Chase plane. It's really, really good. I like it. So weather radar 1, so in the middle is off, so we're going to turn it to 1, and then we want the predictive wind shear to be to auto, right? Oh, it doesn't let us do that, so you can't do the predictive wind shear on this. So interesting. We want this guy to go to map. There we go. And then the scan is auto. That's good to go there. We can turn our TCAS all the way to TARA, so we're good to go there. I didn't do the flaps before we pulled out either, but I did do that while we were taxiing. And you can see that too is on our little list right here. I don't know how well you can see that, but it goes auto brake, signs, cabin ready. That's That's the flight crew telling us they're ready to go back there. Spoilers armed, which I did. Flaps to takeoff, which I did, and then takeoff config, which we just did. So we're good on all that. Everything's ready to go. Let's see if there's anything else. We're good on that. Good on that. And strobe light can go on at this point. So that's up top here. It's in the auto position. We'll put it to the on position by left clicking it again. You may have noticed too that when I pulled onto the runway to back taxi, I turned the landing lights and runway turnoff lights to the on position. That's a requirement, at least in the United States. I don't know about the rest of the world, but when you're on the runway at night, you must have, and I think it's daytime too, you must have all of your lights on, your landing lights and all that stuff. So I turned those on as we pulled onto the runway just to be sure. TCAS is good to go. Now we can turn the packs off for departure, both of them, if we want. We don't have to. Now we are doing a derated takeoff, right, or a flex takeoff. So it might not be a bad idea, but the problem is I always forget to turn them back on. And what happens is as you start to climb past 10,000 feet, the cabin's not pressurizing properly without the packs on. So I'm going to leave them on so that I don't make that mistake. And what else we got here? That's it, except for our takeoff procedure. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull her out on the runway here. Track IR coming on, a little jump. There it is. And you can see actually, oh, sorry about that. I had to shift my chair. You can see actually there's a little bit of stuff on the weather radar here. Now, it's probably pointed straight in front of us, so it's probably reflecting off some moisture on the ground right now would be my guess. I don't know. But let's go ahead and get that park and brake off. That's coming off there. And as we start to move forward, let's turn our landing lights and our runway turnoff lights on. Or, yeah, runway turnoff lights. A little bit of thrust coming in here just to get her moving. So remember, it's a flex temp. Let's get a little more thrust there. So remember, it's a flex temp, so we need to set the throttles to flex, which is going to be right here, vice all the way up, which is toga. Okay, now she's moving. Okay, should have checked to make sure the approach path was clear. It is, but should have checked before actually pulling on the runway. Okay, swing her around here.
On runway 01.
Ooh, I went a little far, my bad, but that's alright. Okay, so let's stabilize them at about 50%. Okay, looking good. So we should hear 2 clicks. That should be flex right there. Nope. There it is. That's flex. The 2 clicks was because the throttles weren't even with each other. Okay, we don't need this guy here anymore. Put her back on arc. Well, looking good right down the middle here, huh? For the most part. There's rotate there. We didn't get any calls, notice that. Okay, positive ready to climb, gear coming up. Following the flight director. Trying to anyway. Remember, we got to get at or above 2,000 feet before we reach this first waypoint. Looking pretty good so far. Now it wants us to lower the climb, but I'm not going to do it until I get above 2,000 feet, which we're almost there. Okay, there's 2,000 feet. Bring the nose down. There's climb. We gotta bring that nose way down, almost level. Ready to bring the flaps up. Flaps coming up. Making our turn here shortly. There we we go. Bring the nose down just a little. We want to gain a little more speed. You gotta watch that flight director close. Your primary flight display is your friend when you're hand flying. Let me tell you, that is your friend. Especially when you're just flying instruments. You know, we're not looking outside the aircraft. Bring her back. We don't want to get above 250 either. Too much there. There we go. Passengers are in the back getting sick. Not too bad. Not my worst hand flying ever, right? Just trying to get her lined up there. Wind's shifting on us. Not quite above 10,000 yet. Not sure why she gave that call already. Watching that speed, we don't want to go over 250 until we get above 10,000. As soon as we reach 10,000 feet, I'll go ahead and flip the autopilot on. We'll get the landing lights off, and then we'll take care of our after takeoff stuff. She's trying to get above 250 there right now. Almost to 10,000. Let's go ahead and get that autopilot on now. There's the autopilot. Let's get the landing lights off. This one can go off. I could have put that one to take off as well. Tracker coming off here. A little jump. Jump's nowhere near as bad with chase plane, is it? It's fantastic. Okay, let's jump to our climb out information, or our after takeoff information here. Autopilot is on. We only need one of them. We're in the climb thrust mode, which is exactly where we want to be. The aircraft is on autopilot. It has control. Packs, we're not going to do anything with packs because we didn't turn them off, so we're good on that. Mostly monitoring at this point. Not a whole lot else we need to really mess with here, right? Let's see. Flaps are up. Oh, we can disarm the spoilers. Let's go ahead and do that. And we just hit Shift Tab. There we go. Spoilers are no longer armed. That's how I have it set up. Shift Tab. You might need to change the key combination for yours. Once we go above 18,000, we'll want to go to standard on the pressure there, which will be good to go. And then we'll continue our climb, and it's really just monitoring. We're allowing the aircraft to take care of business for us, which means we have nothing else until we get to cruise altitude. And that means, you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for some of that obligatory elevator music. Alright, it's going to be the Cameron 4 arrival for us into New York today, and we're going to enter way out here at SIE. We already talked about that when we went through inputting our flight plan, so we're going to go on that. So out here at SIE, continue on, what's the heading here? 049 degrees? No, that can't be right. Yeah, 049 degrees, 049 degree radial. Down here to ACY. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Don't mind me. I'm an idiot. ACY is actually the VOR out here. We're going down here to Botan, however you say it. And then continue on that heading to Hogs. Now it says expect flight level 180 or lowest usable flight level. Whatever that's supposed to mean. Then down to Pansy. Still think that one's funny. Continuing on to Cars, and then a little bit of a left turn down to Cameron. And then from there, it's all vectors. And since we don't... you know, as I'm briefing this anyway, I don't have the approach determined because the weather's going to change, like a 4.5 hour flight. So Vector is going to take us to wherever we're going to start our approach from. So depending on what runway we're landing on, we may need to take Vector's turn left over here and then catch an approach, or we may need to scoot straight in. I don't know. But by the time we're actually doing this brief right here, we'll have determined what our actual approach is going to be. So yeah, probably should have at least made a guess at that, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, H.O.T.A.S is going to be on, let's see, we're approaching from the southwest. So let's see, arrival southwest is 115.40 for our H.O.T.A.S, and that's pretty much it. That's all we really need to know on here. So pretty straightforward, not too difficult. The big thing is going to be we hit those vectors and then on to our approach vectors from there. So yeah. Alrighty, we're about 130 nautical miles from top of descent. Not too bad. Couple things we got to do before we actually descend the aircraft. We want to get set up for our approach. We've checked the weather. The wind is 030 at 17 knots, altimeter 2978. So we've chosen our arrival runway, which is going to be runway 04 left, and we'll be taking care of the approach briefing here in a little bit. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get a couple things set up for that approach. You can see here, there we are, 133 nautical miles from top of descent. Going here to, let's see, performance page. No, I'm sorry, initialization page. No, I was right. Performance, and then next phase, dirt. There we go. And go to the approach phase. So the temperature, forgive the silence for a moment here, but I got to pop this up over here. The temperature is 8 degrees Celsius. So we're going to put the temp in there. There we go. And then the QNH we said was 2978, so 29.78. We'll put that in there. Flaps is going to be full flaps, so we're going to go on that. So that's that. Our approach speed is 127. Our landing speed is 122. So we're going to go on those, but we still need to put the approach in. So if we go to our flight plan, you remember we chose our arrival earlier, right? And that's the Cameron 4 arrival, or Cameron. Maybe it's Cameron 4. But anyway, we've chosen our arrival, but now we need to put in our approach. So it's ILS 4 left is what we're taking. So we'll click on that. And then what did we want is our, let's see, these are the available stars. Duh, I was looking for a transition, but we don't need that. We've already got the Cameron 4, so we don't need to choose another one. So insert that. Don't mind my children yelling in the background. Scroll down here. There's Cameron, which remember we go to vectors from there, right? And then after that, it's you'll see it's Roke and then Crystal and so on. So here's the little kicker here. If we come up here to where we can see a little bit and turn this to plan, I need to get this so that you can bump these up a little. But anyway, so there's Cameron. You can actually see a little better in this wider view. So there's Cameron, and then there's the first waypoint there for the approach, right? So we can just connect those. If I just go down here, and you should be able to see this. If I just click on a Roke, nope, sorry, incorrect. I always forget that. I'm used to doing it the way you do it with Boeing. With Boeing, you click on the waypoint and then you insert it in the discontinuity. You don't do that with Airbus. So you see the blank space there. Come down here and just clear the discontinuity. Click clear. That gets rid of the discontinuity. Now we hop back up here and you can see it's a yellow dotted line because everything's yellow right now, but that's a good connection. That'll work just fine, right? So let's go ahead and insert that. Bam, and now that's our approach right there. Now, hop back down here real quick and go back over to our progress page, or not our progress, our performance page, cruise, and we're a lot closer on our top of descent. Okay, and obviously some of that was just from me talking, but we're closer on our top of descent anyway because it changed the way the flight plan's set up. I think that's making sense. Anyway, so we're going to go on all of that. Let's see, as far as our arrival goes, no, come on brain function, no altitude restrictions. You guys just got that brief, so we're good to go on that. We do have a couple expected altitudes, but that's it. So the next thing I'll do in preparing for the descent here, I'm a soup sandwich today, aren't I? It's because I got a bunch of stuff going on. That's what it is. In preparing for our descent, we're going to scroll this guy down. So it's still set on the 1,000 marker, so we can literally just scroll it down 1,000 feet at a time. Now, technically, we don't need to do it right now. We're still 110 miles out, 100 miles out. But we'll just go ahead and scroll it down anyway. Bring it down to 2,000 feet, which is going to be where we want to be for our approach. But remember, it doesn't start descending on its own. Like Boeing will automatically go into a VNAV profile and start the descent at the descent point. That doesn't work in the Airbus. When we reach that descent point, we're going to have to click on the left click on the outside of the button here, or the knob. That'll push it in and that'll start the descent there. So that pretty much takes care of that. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything else. Now you may have noticed at this point that I've been popping up all of these procedures and checklists and stuff. Those are actually all the procedures and checklists that are in the manual. The what's the name of it there? The normal operating procedures manual for the Aerosoft Airbus. Those did not come from FS Labs. But sitting next to me here, I'm actually using the FS Labs Airbus tutorial to go through the flight. Again, like I said in the beginning of this flight, that's just to show the similarities. And that's why you don't hear me talking about those, but I'm popping them up, trying to pop them up on this video here where they belong. All right. So in the future, though, all of our flights in the Aerosoft Airbus will specifically address the information contained in those procedural lists and checklists. But for this particular flight, I just wanted to show how similar they are. And as you've seen up to this point, they're very, very similar. We've found a few areas where there's definitely more depth to the FS Labs Airbus, but there's nothing wrong with this Aerosoft Airbus. It's pretty darn good, and it's pretty darn in depth. So I really like it. But yeah, so I'm going to continue. I'll pop those up where appropriate, and then in the future we'll be addressing those rather than addressing the FS Labs information or tutorial information. I think all of that makes sense. And I think we're good to go. So you can see we got a little moisture in the clouds down there. The weather radar is still doing its thing, so fantastic. There is supposed to be rain in the area. We're looking at, let's see, ceilings. Let's see, there's rain with broken clouds at 1,100 or 11,000 feet, overcast at 4,200 feet, completely overcast at 4,200 feet. Let's see, and it doesn't really say, it doesn't say where it opens up, so I don't have a runway visibility. Let's see, runway visual range is the term I'm looking for. It looks like the visibility though is 8 statute miles, so that means we're going to drop back out of those clouds at some point, but my weather isn't actually saying where we drop out of them, so I don't know. But anyway, the point is we should get a really good look at that weather radar as we move into these rain showers and heavy clouds once we get near the airport. Okay, enough talky talk. We've got everything set up for the descent. I'll start the descent on my own here. You can just see the white line coming on there, that little arrow there. That's our descent point, so I'll do that, and then after we've begun the descent, we'll go ahead and do the approach brief and press on from there. So I think we're good to go. Enough talking. Off we go then. Bye-bye. Alright, it's going to be the ILS Localizer 4 left approaching to Kennedy today, and like everything in New York, it's going to be a little different. The approach itself is pretty straightforward. We're going to hit our initial fix out here at a Yoke. That'll be after coming off of our vectors from our arrivals. So we'll probably just tune that in with the, if the brain wants to function, using the autopilot function, the heading control. There we go. Brain didn't want to work at all, for the love of my sanity. Anyway, backtrack just a second here. The frequency is going to be 110.90. So out to Yoke, and then around to 045 degrees down to Crystal, and then on in from there, unless we have to execute a missed approach. We'll look at that here in a second, but let's cruise on down to the bottom here. Plenty of runway to work with, 3,356 meters of runway with 140 meters of displaced threshold. Remember, that's area that we cannot land on. We must land beyond this green line here. Standard 3-degree glide slope, and the gradient is 0%. Not that it matters, of course, it's FSX. So coming in at Yoke, we're going to be at 2,000 feet. That's our initial fix there. And then our descent point is about 6.5 miles from the ILS, what do you call that thing anyway? Transmitter, maybe? Start our descent there, 1,500 feet at Crystal, and then in from there. And then, of course, unless we have to hit our missed approach point. If we do go missed, then it'll be climbing at 045 degrees until a minimum of 2,000 feet, and then a right turn to intercept the 062 degree radial from the JFK VOR out to Duffy and climb to 3,000 feet. So that's where it gets a little weird. If you look up here, basically climbing straight out until you get at or above 2,000 feet, then start your right turn and intercept this radio here. So obviously I'm going to have to try to remember to tune in the JFK VOR frequency before we get onto our approach and all that good stuff, and then see if I can remember to set our go-around altitude as well, because I always forget that one. Anyway, let's see, we're coming from southwest, so ATIS for us is 115.40, tower on 123.9er, and ground, should we get there, is 121.9er, and then our transition altitude 18,000 feet throughout the U.S. I think that pretty much wraps it up for this one. Let's see, ILS DME runway 4 left, unusable beyond 5 degrees right, of course, so that's something we want to keep in mind. If we're more than 5 degrees right of the course, the DME won't work for this particular runway, so that's something to keep in mind as well. And then common ILS DME frequency for runways 4 left, 22 and 22 left. This would be 22 left over here, isn't it? No, 22 left is like this guy or something. I don't know. Anyway, they're common frequency, so you have to verify the identifier, which is this guy right here, dot, dot, then 4 dots, then 2 dots, dash, dash, dot, dash. So if I remember, I'll try to turn on the sound so that we can actually hear that Morse code identifier. But anyway, that's the approach. Enough talky talk. Off we go. All right, we're coming up on Yoke. There it is. I had to look it up over here. We're coming up on Yoke here. We need to slow down a bit more, so I'm going to take control of the speed here. I'm going to bring it all the way down to 220 knots. There's our rain. Interestingly enough, weather radar's on, but it's not really showing a whole lot here, right? Speed brake's still out for a reason. It's just giving me a warning here, telling me speed brake's still out. I've got it out on purpose. I want her to slow down a little more, but now it's starting to bring in the thrust, so let's go ahead and just take the speed brake off there. Landing lights are on. We're trying to get our speed down. I want to get below 230, get that first setting of flaps in, and then we'll carry on from there. And of course, as you can see here, we can't see anything, so but we're looking good. Everything's looking good so far. I'm going to kind of stick with my new routine where I'm just going to kind of do my thing, and if I feel the need to talk or share something, we'll share it. Otherwise, we'll just press on. Well, there's no way we're going to make 2,000 feet by the time we get to Yoke here, but we're still trying to get her down as quick as we can. It's kind of on a VNAV speed setting. That's part of the problem here, so let's go ahead and get the spoilers out now. Get rid of those. Let's get the landing gear down.
Gear down.
Hopefully that'll provide enough extra drag. Go ahead and let's get the localizer armed, and it grabbed the localizer right away, so let's click the approach switch. And we're just waiting for it to grab the glide slope, which I think it may have already done. No, it didn't. There's no way it grabbed the glide slope already, right? Maybe it did. No, because it's in white. So we're kind of waiting for it. There it is. Now it grabbed the glide slope. So let's reset this to 3,000. because it's going to fly the glide slope now. It's not going to stop at 2,000. And let's bring in that next setting of flaps here. Looking pretty good. Turn on the other autopilot just in case we can't see and we need the aircraft to do the landing for us. And our approach speeds changed, so 129 because the wind is now 040 at 22 knots. Nice healthy wind. So we're going to be flying it a little bit slower, but we'll hold what we got for now. The gear down is helping. And we're not that far out, by the way. We're only about 10 nautical miles out, so looking pretty good. Start bringing that speed back to 129. It's a long way to go yet, so there we go, 129. Let's get to where I can see here. Track IR coming on a little jump. There we go. Looking pretty good. Shouldn't need the mouse anymore. Autopilot will come off if we get the visual we need on the runway. Next setting of flaps. And one more, bring them to full. Go ahead and arm the spoilers. And let's take care of a landing checklist real quick. Speed brakes are set. Auto brakes set to low. Landing lights are on. Signs are on. Landing gear is down. 3 green. We are good to go. Except I had to scratch my nose there. Alright, looking pretty good. And we do have the runway in sight, but we're going to go ahead. We just barely have it in sight there. You can just make her out right there. So we're going to go ahead and let the aircraft keep flying for now. But we may be switching off the autopilot here shortly. I like to hand fly it. I really do. I very much prefer it. But when in doubt, let the aircraft do the work for you. Now let me go ahead and I'm going to reset the track IR center here. There we go. Because it was just, for whatever reason, I don't know if I set my chair a little further back or what, but there we go. Good visual. I mean, I can see the runway clearly. I can't make out my PAPI lights though. I could turn this to ILS and I could fly it off of this if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I don't really need to. Wrong one. So we'll just leave it there on the arc mode for now. And I'm going to continue to let the aircraft fly it in just a little bit longer here. A little bit of bumpiness going on. Some nice weather here, huh? Plenty of rain. Good times. So we should start hearing more call-outs here shortly. We have set our minimums at 230 on the barrel. I'll show you where to do that when we do a tutorial or next flight in this. I forgot to show you when we were talking a little earlier, so no big deal. But we're good. We're holding speed really good. I think we can turn off this autopilot now. Let's turn those off. We have control of the aircraft. Now we leave the auto throttle on. Let the auto throttle do its job. That's what it's there for. And we just kind of hold this and fly her in. So at 20 feet is when you get the retard call. It's not calling you a retard, it's telling you to retard the throttle.
Approaching 04 left.
Ooh, there we go. Hold that. There's just a little bit of drift in the controls, it seems. Nice little approach here. The water looks a little weird. Looks a little tiled to me. Let's go ahead and switch this over to ILS mode real quick and just see where we're at. Yeah, we're just a little below glide slope. I kind of thought we might be.
500.
And we're drifting to the right just a little bit there. Not looking too bad though. It's not really a crosswind, so I'm not sure why she's drifting to the right like that.
400.
Just about where we want to be.
$300.
There's the glide slope.
100 above.
Looking good. Try and hold that.
200.
Little bank to the right here.
Minimum.
Continue. Nice.
100. 70. 60. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard.
Throttle's all the way
retard,
back.
Retard. 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 5.
There we go. Not too shabby at all. Reverser's coming in. Alright, that was actually a pretty darn good landing. I think it was. It was, what, minus 60? Didn't float it too bad. All in all, that was pretty darn good. Let's slow her down just a little bit more here before we make this turn. There we go. It's not a high-speed exit, so we had to slow her down just a bit more. Not too bad. Alright, let's get her off the runway here. Get cleaned up. Alright, that should be good there. Bring her to a stop real quick. Boom. Let's go ahead and get off the lights that we don't need. No, that one. There we go. Looking good there. What else we need? Let's get the flaps up. Let's disarm the spoilers. There we go. And what else we need to do? I think that's really it. Well, let's get the APU started up. APU master coming on. And start. And let's go ahead and taxi her in. So I'm going to taxi it in, folks. I'll just leave the thing running in case something comes up. But otherwise, we will be talking again shortly when we get to a parking space here. Alright, found us a parking space here. It was clearly meant for a large aircraft, so I don't even know if the jetway will come over here, to be honest with you. We'll see. It'll try. I don't think it'll make it over this far, though. But anyway, we've got our APU up and running now. That was the idea of turning it on right after landing. APU gen is off, so let's go ahead and turn that on by left-clicking it. And now we can go ahead and shut down the engines. Right-click them to shut them down. There we go. Engine's coming off, but power's still on the aircraft, which is good. Let's go ahead and let's get the lights back on there, and let's turn off the fasten seatbelt signs. We can turn the beacon off, wing lights off, nav and logo will stay on, strobe will go to auto. All of those are already off. We'll retract the landing lights. I'm not really sure what that means to retract them, but there we go, they're retracted. So we're going to go on all of that. We don't really need to mess with anything here. We do want to make sure that our TCAS goes back to the standby position. That's where we want it. And we can turn off, we should have turned off our weather radar before we came off or as soon as we came off the runway. That's my bad. Weather radar should have come off. You don't want to pull in here with the weather radar on because you'll fry somebody with it. It's radiation. Also, I checked it and I meant to show it to you and I forgot, but let's see if it'll still pick it up. If you click on this guy here, nav1 identifier, or actually this one, nav1 ident, right click it. It does both of them there. I don't think it's going to do it right now, but that's what we would want to listen to our Morse code identifier, right? And then left click it to turn it back off, but it's probably just not picking it up right now, so there's no identifier. You know what? I should have checked it when I got in closer anyway to see if you could hear it, and I didn't, so my bad. But anyway, okay, so we're going to go on that. Let's just assume the jetway did come all the way over, so let's go ahead and open the doors real quick. Aircraft doors, front left door open. There we go. Return, and then I don't think you can offload. No, it's just start boarding, and okay, it looks like they're offloading automatically because they're down to 15. How are we down to 15? That's kind of weird, actually. It says 124, but there's actually 15 on it. What'd they do? Jump out the windows? I think maybe they jumped out the windows or something, because they shouldn't have gotten off the aircraft yet. But whatever, it is what it is. So, so let's just assume that that's all done at this point. We're good to go on that. So we can hop back up top here. All of the fuel pumps can come off by right-clicking them. Off, 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 off. Let's see what else. We can disarm the emergency exit lights. Right-click that one as well. Those are off. We're good to go on that. We're just on the APU, so nav logo lights stay on. We're good on all of this. So actually what we can do now is we can turn off the APU and then turn off the batteries. So let's go ahead and turn this guy off. Actually, turn APU gen off first, I believe. I think so. Right click, that's off. Right click, that's off. Battery 2 off, battery 1 off. Did they kick back on? Nope, they didn't. But the lights should have kicked off. Now they're going somewhere. All of them should have gone off, but we'll turn those off anyway. So there we go. We have her shut back down to cold and dark, folks. And here we are at JFK. We haven't flown in here. I don't even know if we've flown. Yeah, we've flown in here before. We definitely flew in here in the Constellation. That was a video I put up recently, but we don't fly in here very often. JFK is a rough one to fly into in FSX. It's really hard on the frame rates and stuff like that, but it seemed to be all right today, so that was kind of nice. Another great flight. I enjoyed it as always, and I hope that you guys did as well. We'll wrap this one up pretty quick here. Don't forget to look for the voting thread down below. That's going to be there. Looking for our next flights. I'm trying to figure out the best way to get us over to Europe because I know some of you want to go over there. So look for that. But I'd also like to get some flights up in Canada because I know we got some folks here from Canada that would love to get up there as well. So trying to get all of that in. A lot of flying to do, a lot of places to go, and only so many opportunities to do it, right? So it is what it is, but thank you once again, folks. Please do me a favor, hop down below, give a thumbs up to the video. It makes it easier to find in the search, makes it look like I'm this awesome, amazing guy, even if I'm not, and it's just all around fantastic. So please hit the thumbs up. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, smash that subscribe button, folks. We're up to 4,200 subscribers, shooting for 5,000 is the next goal. I'm really excited about that. I think we're going to make it here pretty quick, actually. So looking forward to hitting 5,000. And then, of course, as always, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and you can follow us on Twitch at Captain Mac 3588. That's going to wrap it up for this one, folks. As always, keep the blue side up unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all, and have a fantastic day.